Have you ever imagined an angel? Perhaps you pictured a serene figure with flowing robes and a halo, maybe even a cherubic infant with tiny wings. But what if I told you that some angels, as described in the most ancient texts, are more like celestial horrors than heavenly guardians? These beings, far from the gentle images we're accustomed to, have multiple faces, eyes all over their bodies, and wings that could cover a temple. Why are these biblical angels depicted so differently from anything we recognize today? What secrets do their bizarre forms and fearsome duties hold about the divine realms they inhabit? Here at Decode Vale, we dive deep into these mysteries, unearthing the profound and often startling truths hidden within ancient scriptures. If you're ready to challenge everything you thought you knew about these heavenly beings, hit that like button, subscribe to Decode Vale, and join us as we explore the terrifying beauty of the real angels of the Bible. Let's peel back the layers of celestial history together, starting right now. Misconceptions and biblical reality. In today's visual and cultural landscape, angels are often portrayed with an ethereal grace. Think of elegant figures bathed in light, with delicate wings and halos. This serene imagery pervades everything from Renaissance art to holiday decorations, shaping our collective notion of what angels are supposed to look like. However, this portrayal is a stark departure from the ancient texts that first introduced these celestial beings. The origin of angels in the Old Testament presents a dramatically different picture. These beings are not merely messengers of beauty and comfort but formidable entities that often strike fear into those who witness them. The Hebrew word malach and the Greek angelos both mean messenger, reflecting their primary role in divine narratives. Yet, their appearances and tasks are anything but mundane. Scriptures like Ezekiel and Isaiah offer descriptions that are far from the angelic figures of popular imagination. Instead of comforting and gentle beings, we encounter horrifying abominations, creatures covered in eyes, with multiple faces and wings, sometimes resembling wheels interlocked with eyes all around. These images are unsettling, complex, and loaded with symbolic meaning, designed to convey the awe and majesty of the divine and the profound mysteries these beings represent. These biblical angels challenge our modern perceptions and invite us to explore more deeply the nature of the divine as depicted in ancient scriptures. They remind us that the divine realm is beyond our full comprehension, portrayed in terms that unsettle, awe, and inspire fear as much as wonder. Through this exploration, we come to understand that the true nature of these heavenly messengers is far more complex and profound than our sanitized, artistic renditions could ever convey. Historical and theological context. The biblical texts that introduce us to angels span centuries, with writings dating from the 6th century BCE to the 3rd century BCE. These scriptures emerged from the lands we now know as Israel and Palestine, regions steeped in ancient traditions and the cradle of Abrahamic religions. This historical and geographic context is essential for understanding the complexity and variety in the depiction of angels, reflecting the diverse cultural and theological influences of the time. Angels in these texts are far more than messengers, they are executors of God's will, integral to the unfolding of divine plans. Their roles vary from guides and protectors to agents of God's direct intervention in the world. One of the most striking examples is the angel of death in the Passover story. This angel, a profound and terrifying figure, passes over Egypt, executing the final plague that convinces Pharaoh to release the Israelites from bondage. This act is not just a message but a direct action, pivotal to the liberation of a people and the fulfillment of a divine promise. These roles underscore the angels' significance in biblical narratives, where they often appear at critical junctures to enact God's will. They are not merely bystanders but active participants in the theological dramas that shape human history. Their actions serve as divine interventions that confirm the sacred text's views on justice, mercy, and the moral order of the universe. Understanding these roles within their historical and theological contexts allows us to appreciate the depth and breadth of angelic functions in biblical traditions. It reveals the layers of meaning behind their appearances and actions, illustrating that these celestial beings are embodiments of divine power and purpose, essential to the narrative and theological framework of the Scriptures. Detailed exploration of angelic beings in the diverse and often enigmatic world of biblical angelology. 3 types of celestial beings stand out for their unique and profound depictions: the cherubim, seraphim, and the ophanim. Cherubim are introduced as early as the book of Genesis, where they guard the gates of Eden with a flaming sword that turns every way. This initial mention sets the stage for their later, more detailed descriptions in the book of Ezekiel. Here, cherubim are not the chubby, infant-like figures of Renaissance art, but formidable creatures with 4 faces, one of a man, an ox, a lion, and an eagle, and multiple wings that stretch wide to cover their bodies and fill the temple. Each face represents different aspects of creation, embodying strength, intelligence, wildness, and sovereignty, intricately tied to the nature of God's creation and his dominion over it. Seraphim, detailed in the book of Isaiah, are no less awe-inspiring. These beings stand above God as he sits on his throne, each equipped with 6 wings, with 2 they cover their faces, with 2 they cover their feet, and with 2 they fly. The seraphim's actions of covering their faces and feet symbolize their reverence and humility before the divine, despite their exalted status. Their continuous chant, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory," reflects their eternal worship and the omnipresence of God's holiness, reinforcing their role as heralds of divine majesty and purity. The ophanim, or wheels within wheels, described in Ezekiel's vision, are perhaps the most mysterious of the angelic figures. These wheels intersect one another, and their rims are full of eyes all around. Their movement is not independent but is directly correlated with the living creatures, possibly cherubim, suggesting a complex relationship between different orders of celestial beings. The ophanim's appearance and the mechanics of their movement emphasize the omniscience and omnipotence of God. They see everything and can move in any direction without turning, signifying God's ability to enact his will across all of creation effortlessly. This detailed exploration of cherubim, seraphim, and the ophanim highlights their distinct roles and appearances, providing a window into the theological depth of the biblical texts. These beings, far from being merely decorative or symbolic, serve pivotal roles in the divine schema, each reflecting different facets of God's nature and his interactions with the world. Heavenly hierarchy and symbolism in the celestial framework outlined in biblical texts. The hierarchy of angels is both complex and illuminating, revealing a structured universe where each being serves a specific divine purpose. This hierarchy, as synthesized by the medieval Jewish philosopher Maimonides, provides a detailed taxonomy of these celestial beings, each tier reflecting varying degrees of spiritual perfection and closeness to God. At the top of this hierarchy are the seraphim, derived from the Hebrew root seraph, which means to burn. This etymology suggests their role as the bearers of divine light and purity, their burning nature symbolizing the intense, consuming aspect of God's presence. The seraphim's perpetual worship and chanting of God's holiness represent their ceaseless acknowledgement of divine supremacy and purity, setting a standard for spiritual aspiration. Below the seraphim are the cherubim, often depicted as guardians of divine secrets and sacred spaces. Unlike the gentle cherubs of popular culture, biblical cherubim are formidable and multifaceted, symbolizing the omniscience and omnipotence of God. Their multiple faces and wings, as detailed in the book of Ezekiel, suggest a comprehensive ability to perceive and act, embodying divine wisdom and authority. The ophanim, or wheels, occupy a unique place in this hierarchy. Their description as interlocking wheels covered with eyes all around speaks to their role in divine observation and mobility. The eyes symbolize constant vigilance and awareness, reflecting a God who is all-seeing and omnipresent. The seamless movement of the ophanim, aligned with the cherubim, underscores the perfect order and interdependence within the divine realm. This hierarchical structure is not merely an organizational tool but a symbolic framework that mirrors the spiritual journey of the faithful. Each order of angels represents a different aspect of divine interaction with the world, be it through direct worship, guardianship of the divine, or the enforcement of God's will. Understanding these roles and the symbolic meanings behind their names and descriptions provides a deeper insight into the theological and metaphysical underpinnings of the biblical worldview. These celestial beings, in their awe-inspiring diversity, invite believers to contemplate the complexity and majesty of the divine structure they serve. Today, we've journeyed through the startling and varied depictions of angels in the Bible, from the awe-inspiring seraphim, whose presence burns with divine purity, to the formidable cherubim guarding sacred truths, down to the mystifying ophanim with their all-seeing wheels. These descriptions challenge our modern, often sanitized views of celestial beings, urging us to broaden our perceptions of the divine. If this exploration has shifted your perspective or deepened your understanding, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you find most surprising about the biblical portrayals of angels? How do these images affect your view of the divine? Join the conversation, share this video with others who might appreciate these insights, and don't forget to subscribe to Decode Vale for more content that delves into the profound and often misunderstood topics of biblical scripture. Before we part, consider this: if the beings closest to God are so vastly different from our expectations, what does that suggest about the nature of the divine itself? Reflect on this as you navigate your own spiritual beliefs, and perhaps, find a new way to look at the familiar.